Coming up on this week's episode, Liam has a football story from his archives, Wonders of White involves Manchester United, and Talking Points features 3 surprise results from Sunday's fixtures. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of VFTSL Podcast. It's Chris here and Liam is here. Hello Liam.
Good evening, Chris. How you doing?
I'm okay, mate. I can imagine you're rather like a Cheshire cat at the moment, or
I've not
taken some sort of
2 days.
Yeah, or taking some sort of substance on Saturday night, and you just were in a dreamland for 24 hours because, yeah.
I still don't believe it happened. I mean, we'll come on to it, but I just still don't believe it happened.
Yeah, I don't think anyone believed it happened. Yeah, so we've got some shock scores in Talking Points this week. So we'll get started. And Liam, I believe you've got a quiz for me this week.
Yeah, so I'll ask you questions at the end, but I thought basically because the Champions League got drawn last week, I'm going to do a bit of a Champions League special. Okay. So at the end, I'm just going to give you 5 questions, best out of 5, just see how well you can do.
So I was like, I've really got no bragging rights over you this week because obviously where Villa are in the league, I'll just say, are Villa mentioned in your Champions League quiz?
They're not.
I'll just
they
get that on.
Because, we have won it. We have won it before.
Yeah, I'll just get that one in because I feel that's probably the only dig I'm going to be able to make this week about Villa. So, well, we'll start there with Talking Points. Villa Park. Shock result. I've written shock result, and that's all I pretty much right. I did, Villa were fantastic. I don't think anyone can take that away from them. But Liverpool were absolutely woeful at the back, and when it was 1-0, they had 3 or 4 really good chances, which I thought on any other day they probably would have scored. But I'm just going to let you have your moment, I think, here, and you can talk us through how you were feeling and what you thought when you saw the goals just going in.
Before I begin gloating and saying how brilliant we were, I thought it was probably a good idea to start with Liverpool, as most people, like you say, have seen this as a shock result, myself included. Defensively, like you say, terrible. I don't think I've ever seen any Klopp side defend as badly as that. But I think a lot of it, and they did touch on it on Match of the Day, the midfield. I don't know what you think, Chris. Obviously, Henderson and Thiago was obviously ruled out with he was in quarantine. There was such a lack of mobility, and it gave us so much time on the ball. Liverpool, as you like, they've always got the press going on. That's how they win the ball back. They press you high up the pitch, don't give you any time to set, and normally, as we've seen so many times, it works for them brilliantly. And they are normally on the other end of a scoreline like this because they can quite easily get 5, 6, 7 goals in a game sometimes. Yeah. But the midfield just for me went totally missing. Van Dijk and Gomez both had poor games. Obviously, they made individual errors, but they needed a little bit of help, I think, from the middle of the park. We just absolutely ran the show. I mean, I've rated McGinn since we were in the Championship. I thought he's been excellent for us ever since he joined, and we obviously know what Villa fans think about Grealish. But to absolutely boss a game against the champions like they did, no possession stats on everything. We hardly, but every time we got it, we were looking at going forward. It was like one pass and we were in, which is great from our point of view. I mean, to score 7 goals in any was unbelievable. And like you say, they had their chances at 1-0. And I actually, when we got the second goal, I was still a little bit nervous because obviously then Salah goes and gets one back, and I thought, oh God, here we go again, because this happened against Liverpool last year. We were ahead, and then in the last minute they came back and won the game. And I thought it was going to be another one of those, and then it seemed like the third goal went in, and just every Liverpool head dropped. And
Yeah.
I've not seen them do that before. I mean, I don't know whether you watched the game. I swore that I wasn't going to watch it, but as soon as we scored our first goal, I thought, yeah, well, I'll give it a go. And I'm so glad I did. But yeah, we were absolutely phenomenal all over the pitch. I think our transfer settled in very well. I was a little bit unsure about Cash to begin with, because I've not seen that much of him for probably a good 18 months or so since Villa were in the Championship. He's taken to it like a duck to water. I think he's filled that right back slot really well. Barkley had an excellent game, and on another day probably could have had a hat-trick himself. I think Watkins could have had 5. He obviously hit the bar and he missed a one-on-one. It could have been 10 or 11.
Yeah, well, that's the frightening thing, really, wasn't it? It wasn't just, you know, you scored 7, but you could have easily got into double figures. But I think all round, it was a really, really good performance from Villa. Watkins, I think, he impressed me with his finishing, like the chances he had, he took. I think Barkley kind of gave you something different in midfield, maybe. I know it was his first game for Villa, but some first game it was.
Up between him and Grealish, I think, is something that we've got to look forward to this year, because they seem to be on the wavelength already.
Definitely, and it's just very difficult to actually comprehend that Liverpool actually conceded 7 goals in one game. I think you look back to last season on how confident they were at the back with sort of Van Dijk and Gomez, and I don't think anyone would have predicted this score before the game, but deserved. And it's just that one of those cases was, you know, take your chance when it comes and you'll get rewarded for it.
Yeah, and we more than took our chances. I think, you know, you said just before we came on air, a few of our goals were deflected. And yes, they were. We did get a bit lucky on a couple of them. I think McGinn's volley, I don't know whether it's going in or it's on target, but big deflection on that one. And the Grealish's first goal, there's a big deflection on that one. But I think even if you don't include them, it's still 5-2. So,
yeah, exactly. So yeah,
you know, it's not like that didn't win us the game, but yeah, it certainly did help. I was so pleased with the way we played, and we looked, you know, confident. That it's not a confidence that I've seen in a Villa squad for a long time. So long may it continue.
I just briefly, just before we go on to the next bit, the goalkeeper Adrian come under a lot of pressure from people after that game. I know he made the mistake for the first one, but I did think for the majority of the goals that went in, there's not really a huge amount he could have done.
No.
It just seemed like he was the scapegoat for Liverpool fans trying to almost defend Van Dijk and Gomez, because Liverpool fans are like Van Dijk's best defender in the world, and they kind of like pushed it onto Adrian a bit. And I personally don't think that the majority of the goals that went in he could have done anything about. Like you said, deflected goals. There's not a lot you can really do. All right, the first goal was a huge mistake on his part.
I mean, he's rusty, isn't he? He hasn't played for a while. But yeah, one individual error for the first goal, but the rest, it's harsh to blame him.
Yeah. I just thought for me, it just seemed like they were using him as like the scapegoat to put it on him rather than their more senior players, should we say? But Firmino was awful as well. I'll just put that in now.
Yeah, and at the start of the game as well, I've got a lot of friends who are Liverpool fans, and but at the start of the game, I was saying, like, he always has a good game against us. He might not always score, but I've always rated him, and I do love watching him play. He's not a natural goal scorer, but the work rate he puts in and the things he does, it reminds me of almost like a Dennis Bergkamp, where it's a lot goes through him, even if he doesn't get the glory. and he just didn't turn up. I think I heard his name mentioned once, and that was it. But yeah, very strange one. It'd be interesting to see how Liverpool bounce back from that.
We'll see. But we'll move on to the second strange game. The Man United Tottenham game, there was a few incidents in here that we can talk about. First off, well played to Tottenham. A fantastic game. But unfortunately, it's Man United that we're actually probably going to talk about here. The first one is the sending off for Martial, which is probably one of the weakest sending offs I've seen for a while, especially for it to go to VAR. VAR say that it's a sending off. I thought he was particularly unlucky, or if he's going to send one off, I think you have to send the other off as well. Because Lamela definitely...
You've got to do the same.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was a very one-sided decision. And you have to say, like, the sending off, it changes the game. I know Tottenham were pretty much on top of it, but, Man United have to play the rest of the game with 10 players. Do the math. It only takes a couple of chances for Tottenham. I thought that was a really... For it to go to VAR and VAR say it was... I'd like to see the interpretation that they took on it, that he does catch him in the face, but it's more of a touch than a stroke of his face rather than a lash out. And Lamela
I think there's any more malice in it than what Lamela did. Personally, exactly. For me, that's 2 yellow cards. Get on with the game. Or, it's the same punishment for both. If you're going to send them off, if you're going to send one off, send both off. But yeah, it did cost you. I think it was that couple of minutes because they scored from effectively the first attack after that, and then you really see what a team is made of, because you either use that to sort of galvanise you and give you a bit of encouragement to go on and try and get back into the game, or you capitulate, and they chose the latter, didn't they? I think.
Yeah. Also, another talking point from this game is Harry Maguire. Not really living up to that price tag, I would say, and probably one of his worst performances I've seen in the United shirt, and probably a Leicester shirt as well, to be fair. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the bit on Sky Sports after the game where Patrice Evra basically said that he'd want to hand in his Sky contract just to say what he could actually say, because obviously he was pretty cut up about it, and you can see that. But I think Harry Maguire was to blame for at least 2 or 3 of the goals here. I don't think his positioning at all is very good, and sort of wresting your own player off the ball doesn't help. I've seen him do that before as well. I swear it might have even been in an England game. I'm not sure. I swear he was like marking someone. He lost them, didn't really look around to who he was marking, and started holding back his own player. I vaguely remember him doing that before, but and it was one position I thought that United would strengthen yesterday in the transfer window, and it gets to 11 o'clock. And they've got Edison Cavani.
And a winger from Atalanta.
The one, the 2 positions that they're probably capable of without signing anyone. You got Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford, and you go and sign Cavani. I'm not saying Cavani isn't gonna, do the business for Man United. We don't know that until we see him play, but he's not the player they needed. They needed someone at the back, and I think it was clear to see throughout the Man United fan base that that's what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. To me, it has strong echoes of Falcao.
Yeah.
I remember Louis van Gaal bringing in Falcao when options up front for Man United were plentiful, and I wondered what he was doing then. And it seems every year, like we're saying, Man United need to strengthen their defence, and they don't. But having said that, I did see something earlier in the week that, other than Liverpool and Man City, I think Man United had the best defence last year, which did surprise me. But looking at, obviously, this game is sort of highlighted everything that is wrong with Man United at the moment. There is huge gaps in that squad. I think it's really unbalanced.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's the right word to use, but
No,
it seems that you could pick 6 or 7 of that team and make a strong case for them being absolutely world-class players, and then the remaining side are just not. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if the table is harsh, but whereas, I mean, the Man United that I grew up with, every 11 players on the pitch and even the 6 or 7 on the bench, you had strong cases for them being top players. They were all international, world-class players. They could all come in and do a job, whatever the system that Fergie wanted to play. And now I look at the score at half time. I think was it 2-1 at half time or 3-1 at half time? Oh, no, it was 4, wasn't it? I think it was 4 by then.
Yeah.
And he brought on Fred and McTominay. And I'm thinking,
if
that was
off,
Fergie,
yeah.
I mean, it didn't. It just the lack of depth is quite worrying for you. Obviously, they don't have that up front, but Bruno Fernandes is meant to be one of your best players at half time with bringing on Fred and McTominay. Just if I was in that Spurs team and we're 4-1 up at half time and I saw those changes being made, I think, right, how many can we get? It's going to be easy for the second half. But yeah, credit to Spurs. They did what they had to do. They played well and they took their chances. They looked very dangerous going forward. I'm still not convinced with their defence or midfield. I think Højbjerg played well, and they did highlight him, and a lot of people said how well he played, and he did play well in this game. I'm still not overly convinced though, but he's turning me round gradually. But I mean, I saw Harry Redknapp saying that Spurs could go for the title this year, and I think he's a little bit deluded. Front three, I think, are as good as any, but outside of that, I still think there's a little bit of work to do. I still think Aurier is. I don't know how Aurier is still playing, because he seems to be dropped all the time, and then a few months later he'll just sort of appear again for like 5 or 10 games, and then he'll be. I don't know whether he's injured or suspended or what, and then he just disappears again. So yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. But it was a shock result, to say the least. Man United, I think, needed a big wake-up call. Maybe this is it. I don't know. I'm not sure what they do manager-wise. I can't see Solskjaer being the man to take it forward.
This is what I mean. But, I think it just goes to show. I think what did they bid for Sancho? Like 97 million for Sancho. Got turned down. They wanted 120. What's the additional 16 million? There's nothing compared to the 97 that they were willing to put forward. It just for me, it looks like they don't have that sort of faith in Solskjaer, and probably what they've had previous managers since Fergie. They just don't seem to want to sort of,
they had a few
go
expensive
out.
flops, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they're worried that might happen again. But I don't know much about what goes on behind the scenes at a football club. But at the minute, I look at Man United and think you're not being well run.
No.
There's something somewhere. Whether it's the scouts aren't finding the players quickly enough, whether it's the draw to go to Man United isn't as strong as with other clubs like Liverpool or in Chelsea. You look at what great window you had, and I would always consider Chelsea and Man United of a similar stature from when I was growing up and watching Chelsea and Man United compete for titles. You've managed to pull off Havertz, Werner, quality players. Why aren't Man United doing something similar? What is stopping good players from joining them? I don't know.
Who knows? But we'll have to wait to see if they can bounce back. I think they will, but I think they're like 16th in the table at the moment. So, but it's early days. So we'll wait and see. But we'll move on to, I guess, what was the first sort of shock of Sunday. They have to call it like Shock Sunday or something, give it a name. It was the Leicester West Ham game. obviously from a Leicester point of view, you go from beating Man City quite comfortably to losing to West Ham quite comfortably. So a very, very strange result. And considering West Ham aren't the most consistent team that you watch, you know, I think this game just goes to prove that, you know, you don't need all the possession to win games. I think Leicester had something like 71% possession and didn't have a shot on target in the whole game. So yeah, but I thought West Ham, you know, the goals they scored, they were created well, but really, really poor from Leicester. Not really what we were used to seeing. Obviously, they won their first couple of games. It just looked very, you know, not like the Leicester that we've seen previous. And they were really exposed at the back. And, you know, West Ham aren't known for being the most attacking side in the league. But certainly made the most of their chances.
They did. I thought the first goal summed up the whole game, really. I think West Ham were just a bit smarter. I think they just... I say use the dirty side of the game. I don't mean that as in they were rough. It was the niggly little things that I just think they got right. You know, the first goal, it was a Leicester attack. Antonio gets the ball, buys a foul, quick free kick and a counter attack, and they ended up scoring from it. And it was very well worked goal from West Ham's point of view. They did everything right, but I don't know. Leicester just weren't switched on. I just don't think they were prepared to do that. You know, to stand in front of the ball, take that yellow card, block that free kick, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I just think West Ham were a lot smarter, and Leicester, I think, maybe a bit complacent after beating Man City last week.
That's what I thought.
And we did speak about them last week. Everything they did right against Man City, they got wrong against West Ham. Yeah, but credit to West Ham. They played really well. I did manage to watch the game. I thought it's the best game that Fornals has had in a West Ham shirt. I mean, the touch for his goal was phenomenal. It's come down with snow on it, and he still managed to control it into his path. It was great, and thoroughly deserved. And it did point holes in Leicester's defence. And as Villa are playing them next, I expect no less than 9 goals.
10, 11.
Yeah, I want double figures. I don't know where Leicester go from here, really. I think the international breaks come at a good time.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. They just looked very, very complacent, Leicester. And I think they almost were a bit, should we say, overconfident that they probably could produce the same sort of, you know, result as they did against Man City. But like you said, like Fornals, like you say, he had a great game. He hasn't really shone, should we say, in a West Ham shirt. I think there was a lot, sort of, you know, a lot riding on him last season, and he didn't really have the best of games when I did see them live. But yeah, I thought overall, and Antonio as well.
What do you think about him for the England squad? I know it's too late for this round. But...
I was just literally about to say, like,
yeah, I think
if you go on
he deserves
form,
a chance.
I think if you go on form, I think he has to come in, and, you know, you've got to feel sorry for Danny Ings, because I think the Euros would have been probably his spot would have been at the Euros. Obviously, we wouldn't have had Kane, and we wouldn't have had Rashford either. So, I think for him, it's unless Ings can recreate the sort of scoring he had last season, this season. I don't think. But if you were looking to bring like that sort of third, fourth striker in, I think Antonio's definitely got to be up there. I remember that Antonio 3 or 4 seasons ago playing right back, and then right wing, and now he's playing striker. It's, you know, he's very versatile, so he doesn't have to stick to that one position, but certainly knows where the net is, and he's had a good season. I think they need to keep him fit. I think if they are not going to struggle this season, it's probably going to be the goals that come from him that probably keep them out of that sort of relegation area.
I think we've got a good depth in that area of English form strikers at the moment. With obviously Calvert-Lewin, Ings having a good season last year, and, you know, continuing on this year. I know he's already scored. And then obviously the usual suspects with Kane and Rashford. It's a good time to be an English striker in a way, but you're for someone like Antonio to score as many as he has and not get a chance, you can also argue that maybe it's not a good time. But I was very impressed by him.
Just quickly, just lastly before we move on, Everton's transfer window, I think, has probably been the best in the Premier League. I'm not sure if it's if not the best, second best at least. I think the players that they bought in were players that they actually needed. They needed those players to feed Calvert-Lewin, because you're actually seeing him score goals week in, week out now, and they're getting he's getting service from Rodriguez. James just seems phenomenal at the moment. He seems to be doing everything right in that Everton shirt. So, not saying they're going to finish top 6, but I think they're going to be very close this season. I think they've definitely bought well in this window. They've bought Godfrey now as well, just to complete that. The defense. Did you see Moise Keane's gone? He's gone out on loan.
Oh, I didn't know he'd gone out on loan. I didn't know he'd scored.
I can't remember where he's gone, but he's gone out on loan. So, I just wanted to quickly say that because I thought I know Chelsea have bought in some very good players, but I thought Everton have definitely bought in the right positions that they needed to buy in. I think they've done well there.
I think certainly outside our two teams, I would actually say Chelsea have the most positive transfer window, but that would give you too big a head. So I'll go with Everton. I'll say that. I think they've strengthened their midfield well, and getting Godfrey on deadline day, they did need another centre half. So I think they've done well, and I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year we're talking about James Rodriguez being up there for Player of the Year. I think he's been phenomenal so far, and he seems to like playing under Ancelotti, and he seems to have linked up well with the players that are there. I think it's going to be a good match.
Definitely. Right. So that's it for talking points this week, and that's it for part 1. In part 2, Liam will have a story. We've got Wonders of White. We've got a Champions League quiz and a little update on Yeovil as well. So we'll be back in part 2. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of episode 4 of View from the Sideline podcast. We've got a bit of a Yeovil update. The National League season started again, kicked off on Saturday. Yeovil were on BT Sport, so people, I believe you did watch some of the game, Liam.
I did watch the game, it was very entertaining in the second half, I will say that, even if it wasn't the right result.
Yeah, so they ended up drawing 2-2, took the lead twice, but couldn't quite get the win, and they're actually playing Wealdstone tonight as well. As we record this, they're actually 1-0 down. It's just coming up to half time, so 2 promoted teams in the first 2 games, and to not get a win, that's not a good sign. So
but to be fair, I think the both Kings Lynn goals were a little bit I watched the National League game for a long time, but the officiating hasn't improved since I watched last time.
Handball and offside.
It wasn't even debatable. It was very clear. But there we go. Let's hope they can turn it around in the second half.
Yeah, let's hope. It's actually on YouTube for free as well. So if you not that anyone's going to know that until tomorrow now, because obviously me saying it now isn't going to make any difference. So but Liam, your story this week. Where are we going? Are we going abroad? Are we going Africa? Asia?
We are going abroad. We're revisiting a country that we've actually been to before. Do you remember the guy that was bought for a load of meat last season?
Yes.
We're back in Romania.
In Romania,
And I'm beginning to love the Romanian league more and more.
It's the country that keeps giving.
It does. So this time we're going to the Romanian 4th Division, and back in 2003, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Apologies if there are any Romanians out there for this. So back in 2003, Steaua Nicolae Balcescu had been threatened with expulsion from the league after a series of pitch invasions and clashes. So in order to try and compensate for this, Stow's chairman, Alexander Kringus, came up with a genius way to keep the fans from getting onto the pitch. So was it a fence? Was it police officers? Was it maybe even threatening fans with being banned if they tried to enter the field of play?
That's what you think. Oh, no. Okay.
The answer to this conundrum, very bizarre. He built a moat around the pitch, and he didn't stop there. He filled it with crocodiles. So Kringus was quoted as saying, "This is not a joke. We can get crocodiles easy enough and feed them on meat from the local abattoir. The ditch is planned to be wide enough that no one could jump over it, and anyone who attempted to do so would have to deal with the crocodiles. I think the problem of fans running onto the pitch will be solved." So Kringus wasn't a complete lunatic. He made sure he built the moat far enough away from the pitch so that the players wouldn't fall into it. He even thought about the crocodiles and made sure that the water was heated by electric pipes during the cold Romanian winters. So you may not be surprised to learn that once local authorities found out about this, it got completely cancelled and he had to get rid of it. But it's the thought that counts, isn't it? You know, we've got a problem. What way to solve it? Load of hungry crocodiles. Let's get them in. But I just thought that was absolutely genius.
Yeah, it is genius. What happens if we have a pitch invasion from the crocodiles? So that's going to cause problems.
Well, I don't think it happened. I don't think that they had.
It never actually got to that far.
You know, maybe there was a guy on site. I have no idea. I mean, it seems a roundabout way to getting the result, but there you go.
Do you think the FA would approve that in this country now? Do you think we'd
some hungry crocodiles at Villa Park? I mean, I think maybe some of the Liverpool players might have jumped in at the weekend, to be honest. So who knows?
Oh no. Well, that's another animal-related story from Romania.
Yeah.
And it involved meat. So both your Romanian stories have involved abattoirs in some way or another. So
they have, yeah. They're quite a depressing country, but they live their meat.
Right. That's another good story there, Liam. We'll move on to the Wonders of White. Here we go. So for the first time in Premier League history, Manchester United have conceded 4 goals in the first half of a game. 3.79 average goals so far this season is the highest since 1930-31 season, where it finished with an average of 3.95 goals. So that must have been some season.
Nice.
Here we go. You're going to love this one. Ollie Watkins.
Yep.
He's the first player to score a hat-trick against Liverpool since 2010. But can you tell me which was the player that scored the last hat-trick against Liverpool? I will give you a clue. He's played for Tottenham. And he's played for Manchester United.
Yeah, I think they might have read this out, or it might have come up on Match of the Day too. I think it's Berbatov.
It is Berbatov.
Sorry, mate.
That's all right. And
cheated a little bit there.
This one is for both of us because it comes from the Dutch League. My last one.
Nice.
We're very avid Dutch League fans recently, so this is the first time since 1969 that a Dutch team has been 4-0 up and not won the game.
Oh.
So at the weekend, it was Sparta Rotterdam. They played AZ Alkmaar. AZ were 4-0 up. The game ended 4-4. So AZ were actually 4-0 up within 33 minutes of the game. Missed the penalty in the 40th minute. Then conceded in the 57th and the 64th minute to make it 4-2. AZ then had a player sent off with 5 minutes to go. Sparta then made it 4-3 with a penalty in the 88th minute before completing the comeback to make it 4-4 in the 90th minute.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I love a game like that.
So, so it's all about missing that penalty in the 40th minute. They could have gone 5-0 up at half-time. But instead...
Maybe we could bring in like Chris's Game of the Week. I think that's a great little feature there. That would definitely be included in that one. 4-4. Phenomenal.
Yeah, so not overly known for its goals, the Dutch league, I must say, unless you're PSV Ajax or a Feyenoord. But yeah, it's what a cracking
Very
game that was.
entertaining.
So yeah, right, it's Champions League quiz time, and I'm not looking forward to this.
Yes. 5 questions, all
Right,
about the
okay.
Champions League. None of them Aston Villa related. You'll
Is
be pleased
it
to
sort
hear.
of historical Champions League, or is it to do with this Champions League?
Mostly this Champions
Okay,
League, a
right.
couple of oldies, but yeah, all guessable, I think.
Okay.
So we'll start off with the first question. Who is the only player to have won the Champions League with 3 different teams?
Oof.
Now, I can give you a clue because I thought that was a little bit difficult.
Right,
So I'm
okay.
going to give you the teams that he won it with. We
Yeah,
just mentioned one of them, Ajax, Real
yeah.
Madrid, and AC Milan.
Ajax, Real Madrid, and AC Milan. Can I ask for another? Is this recent or is this like 90s?
He has retired now,
Okay.
but he was probably still playing 10 years ago, I would say.
For
I think
like
would have been at the end of his career, probably around 2010, 2011.
AC Milan.
Let me just see. I'm going to see when he retired
Is
for
it
you.
in that? Was that his
Uh,
teams in that
it is
order?
in that order. Yes,
Okay,
I
right.
can give you that. So he retired. Oh, he actually retired in 2014, but he retired from any serious teams in 2012. He left Milan in 2012.
Okay. My head's gone, mate. I think if it's Ajax first, it's gone, mate. It's gone. Can't think of it.
That's fine. It's Clarence Seedorf.
Seedorf. Bugger. That was the one person I was thinking of.
It's always worth a go.
Yeah,
It's always worth a
yeah.
guess. If you didn't get on with that one, I will give you another clue for this one then. So, which outfield player has
Yeah.
appeared in a Champions League final in 3 different decades? And those decades are the 90s, the noughties, and the 10. And if you're struggling with that, I'll give you another. He's a one-club player.
So one club player. Maldini.
Ooh, good guess, actually. I
Or
didn't even think
Nesta.
about that. He would be the obvious choice. No, it's Ryan Giggs.
Okay.
I thought you might get that because you played them in one of the finals.
Yeah, I was just thinking more Milan because I know they would have. Damn. All right.
So
All right, you got me.
they get a little bit easier, don't worry. So who were the first UK team to win the European Cup as it was back then?
Oh my god, I actually don't even have a clue. I've not got a clue.
The clue is the first UK team.
Yeah, so I'm thinking probably Celtic.
Bingo, Celtic. Well done. First one right. Says the question number 4. Who is the only Romanian team to win the European Cup? I thought a little bit of a link with the story in Romania. I'm obsessed at the minute.
Romania. Well, there's only really. So the European Cup, did you say, or a European Cup?
The European Cup. So this was, I'll get you a year. I think it was at some point in the 80s. Let me have a look. Sorry, I'm quickly Googling. So they won it, the European Trophy, in 1985-86.
I'll just go for the obvious Steaua Bucharest. This is the obvious one. I can't think of any other big Romanian team from that.
It is, it is Steaua Bucharest. But the reason I put it in is because they've apparently changed names now. So I've always known them as Steaua Bucharest, but now they're just FCSB. So there you go.
Oh. I actually did know that. I did know that because I saw it on Football Manager.
There we go. Everything we learn from Football Manager.
Yeah.
So that's 2 questions right out of 4. So this one to give yourself above average. So you'll be pleased to know this is multiple choice. How many Champions League games did it take Cristiano Ronaldo to score his first Champions League goal? Is it A, 17 or C, 27?
I literally have no. I'll just go down the middle, mate.
You're going to plump for B?
Yeah.
It's actually C. 27 games it took him to score, and now he's the leading goal scorer in Champions League history. And it took him 27 games to get his first goal.
Blimey. Imagine how many he'd be on now if he didn't have to...
Yeah. I just thought that was quite an amazing stat. I mean, he just scores in every game, doesn't he? To not score in the first 27. So there you go, 2 out of 5 this week. Maybe I made them a bit too difficult, as I usually do. But well done.
That's all right. I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, right. Anything else, mate?
7-2, Chris. That's all I've been saying for the last 48 hours.
So,
7-2.
I think we just leave it on there, just so you can have the last word. All right, but we'll be back next week.